Welcome to Mortgage Lending Mastery, the world's longest running podcast in the mortgage industry. I'm your host, Lady Jen Du Plessis, with over 4 decades of mortgage, real estate, and financial services experience, providing the knowledge you need to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently. Hey there, it's Lady Jen again. So we're going to talk today, another Jen's Jots, about competition versus collaboration. We hear it a lot. At least I hear it a lot in the industry that I'm in, but I want to make sure that we're real clear about this. I remember a time when I worked for a company. I'll leave all the names out. I worked for a company, and our pricing for jumbo loans was so bad. And I was targeting, jumbo loans. That's where my specialty is. And I realized, wow, our pricing has just changed. All of a sudden, it's just not good anymore. It used to be great. And I was losing deals because our pricing was so far out of the market. And I ran into this guy at a networking event, and BNI actually. And I'm like, who's this loan officer character that's here? Right. Let me just size him up. And listening to what he said when he stood up, hi, I'm, so-and-so, and this is what I do. And I can close on time and it's smooth and we have great rates, which is what most loan officers say. And it, falls on deaf ears. Another podcast. But I'm, sizing this guy up and going, who's this character? I don't know if I like him. And I never really did like him that well, but I found myself calling him not too long after that and saying, hey, I've got this deal that I'm looking at, this family I'm trying to help, and my pricing's just out of the market. I mean, what do you have going on? And he said, oh yeah, we definitely could do that and do it substantially better terms. And I ended up sending my client. Now, I'm a believer that I want my client to get help, even if it's not from me, because that level of professionalism will come back tenfold. And it did. Okay. So that's another discussion. But so I sent the client to them. And of course I was worried, is my realtor going to go to them now? All this, and no, they didn't. They didn't. So don't worry about that kind of stuff. We live in so much scarcity instead of abundance. It's amazing. And so I sent the deal to him and they closed the business. Now, he wasn't that great at nurturing the relationship and creating loyalty. And, as an alumni client, so I just kind of jumped in there and said, I know you did your business, but I just want to manage your mortgage. And so I was able to continue to manage the mortgage. I don't know, some period of time went by. I called him again. Yeah, we can do that. Doggone it, right? It kept happening. And I thought, well, if you can't beat him, join him, right? Ultimately, I ended up going to that company. And like I said, I wasn't a real big fan of him generally, but I liked the pricing. I liked the company. It's where I became one of the top 200 loan officers in the country, and really loved the company until I didn't, later, years later. But what I realized is that, when we put up these blinders, when we go to networking events or you're sponsoring something and all of the vendor tables are around the room for real estate agents and we're all trying to get business and no one's talking to us, go talk to your competitors while you're there. If you're sitting around, just go talk to your competitors. Find out what they do that you don't. Find out what you do that they don't. My husband was on my team, and that was his sole business source, was other loan officers from other companies that couldn't do what we could do. And other loan officers that if there was a pricing issue, even though we could do the same thing, if there was a pricing issue, at least it was moved over into our circle, right? And hopefully you understand that. So if I had a deal and I knew the pricing wasn't going to be good, and I knew that the client was going to go look someplace else, I want them to go look to my competitor, who's my collaborator. I don't want it to go out of my circle. And I think that's beneficial for real estate agents as well. I've talked about this in another podcast too, is about, are you the 1, 2, or 3? Which phone call are you? Because the way that you respond makes a big difference. And you're crazy to think that they aren't shopping, even if it's a qualified referral that I've talked about on another podcast with pennies versus quarters. So it's important that you keep it in your circle. But I figuring out, one company has a one-time close, another has a two-time close, but the terms are better. So knowing what your competition does is really helpful to guide your clients if you have to refer out. But more importantly, having monthly connection circles is what I had. And sometimes we did them quarterly, depending on how busy we were. We did connection circles where everybody was saying, well, we came out with a new product. We have a new underwriter. We have a new wholesale lender. We're now doing QM. We introduced construction loans, whatever the case may be, so that all of us would know what everybody does. And we kept this a very close-knit group of people. There were only about 4 or 5 of us in this. This isn't every loan officer in your market. These are only 4 or 5. We had a banker, we had a broker, we had a big bank lender, the big bank lenders. We had a regional bank lender. And so selecting them and creating this collaboration specifically for Brian, my husband, was really, really good because he was able to fund, 40, 50 million on his own, separate from our, my fundings, just because we had the product that someone else didn't have, or we could serve the client and the realtor with a product that they had. And super powerful. Oh, and I'll give you another example. Our company that we were at one point in time, and as you know, with VA, there is no credit score requirement at all. It's just residual income. But there are layers that everybody puts on based on the company. And our layer was we would not do anything under a 640 credit score. And my client had a 638 credit score, and I could not get that loan through to save my life. And so being able to send to a VA lender that didn't have that requirement or had a lesser, criteria for it was really powerful. So the worst thing that you could do is say, sorry, I can't do the loan. Good luck. That is the worst thing you can do. Always provide resolutions for your clients and your realtors, because now your client's going to go back to your realtor and say they can't do it. And that puts you in a really bad situation. I hope you understand that. Instead of, hey, they couldn't do it, but they gave me the name of somebody else. And again, there's another podcast somewhere about what I say about doing that, because you want to make sure you keep it in the realtor circle too. Right? But there's a process for that. So I hope that was helpful. So now here's what I want you to do. So always about action, right? When it comes to Jen's Jots, this is, priceless coaching. Number one is look at the types of products that you have, know them intimately, little idiosyncrasies. And next time that you go to a networking event, next time that you're at a B&I meeting, next time that you're sponsoring something and there are other lenders, make a beeline to them instead of avoiding. And don't just make a beeline as, hey, Joe, hey, Bob, whatever, but go to them and say, hey, let's sit down and let's schedule a time where we can learn a little bit about each other's products, because I know we're both running across situations where we can't help the client. And I'd rather be able to send them to someone I know than someone I don't know. So with that, that's your assignment. This is work, right? This is, and I shouldn't say it's work. It's not an assignment. That's your action item. You're in business. You're an intrapreneur, right? You work inside of a company, and maybe you own your own company, but you're an intrapreneur. You are an entrepreneur. So you should be taking these actions anyway. I'm just guiding you through them. So now listen, if you want to have a strategy call with me, don't forget to click on the links below and make sure that you get a strategy call with me so that we can talk about possible opportunities to help your business grow. I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you for joining Mortgage Lending Mastery. If you found value in today's conversation and would like to get support, simply go to supportfromjen.com. That's supportfromjen.com, or reach out to me on social media. Keep watching and listening for more insider secrets, stories, strategies, and ideas to help you become a master in your business.